morning. Welcome to UUCC, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Canandaigua. We are a group of spiritual free thinkers who gathered together to celebrate life, build community, and better our world. Wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. I'm Carrie Graff, your worship associate for this morning, and our service today is going to be led by Dorothy Hoskins. And we've got Scott Wright on the piano today, which is always fun. Scott, how much longer are you with us?
I think 2 more weeks.
2 more weeks after this week, okay. Okay. Service is being live streamed to our YouTube channel, and we plan to continue on hybrid worship services so you can join us each week here in person, on Zoom, or later on YouTube. If this is your first visit, welcome. We invite you to sign the visitor's book in the entryway, and whether it's your first visit or your 1,000th, we are glad that you came. To help us connect better with our friends watching at home, please turn around and give a wave to the camera back in the back corner by the clock. At the end of the service, we're going to invite our friends on Zoom to turn on their cameras and return the wave. I've got a few announcements to share with you today. If you have a joy or sorrow to share, please fill out the little card, little paper slip on near your chair, and then you can bring them forward and place them in this basket after Scott rings the chimes and begins to play. If you're at home, you can write your joy or sorrow into the chat box and we will bring it up and announce it that way. We all are invited to an end of summer friends and family potluck and game night on Friday, August 23rd from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m., not a.m. Mark your calendars now for the upcoming UU Climate Justice Revival from an extractive age to a new era on September 28th and 29th. We'll meet on Saturday morning for the first part of the program, followed by lunch, and then continue the weekend with a service shared by UU churches across the country to help us gear up for climate action. Are there any other announcements today for the good of the community? Okay, as we prepare to be fully together, just a reminder to silence your phones or any kind of device, anything that's going to bing or buzz during the service. We now enter a space of worship. And now's the time to bring up the joys and sorrows. have a chalice lighter in the house? Well, then I will just light it myself. Okay. I invite you to join with me in our chalice lighting words as the flame is lit. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together.
Good morning. This morning, as we come together, I'd like to share with you these words from Don Lambert. You are welcome here, no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, no matter what your background. You are welcome here to join us as we proclaim worth in our spiritual journeys. You are welcome to join us as we sing songs that uplift our very beings. You are welcome to join us in community as we learn, live, and love together. All are welcome as we worship that which gives us each meaning and value. No matter what you call this building, this hour, or this gathering of people, we worship as one body illuminated by the light of the chalice. Please rise in body or spirit and join us in our first hymn, number 66, in the gray hymnal. Number 66, When the Summer Sun is Shining. At the end of the last verse, you can substitute the word whole for the word soul if you prefer.
Summer sun is shining.
Rather than our usual kind of reading, I'm going to give you a little introduction to what we're doing today because it's a little different. How frequently have you heard someone express that something happened for a reason, or that something wasn't just a coincidence? When you hear that, is it comforting to you, or confusing, or annoying? What kinds of events make you wonder if there are hidden meanings to what just occurred? Do you think that there are no real coincidences? Or do you think to the contrary that many unusual things can occur by chance or because of chains of events that you didn't observe? We will explore a bit on randomness versus meaningfulness today, and how we interpret surprising events. One of the great things about UUs is that we have a lot of opinions. Along the way, you will have a chance to weigh in by raising a hand physically or virtually. It's all in the spirit of widening our scope and sharing with each other. Stick around after the service if you want to talk about it more on Zoom or in the in-person coffee hour.
Now is the time in our service to join together in spiritual practice of generosity. Our gifts of both time and money support our church and its work. Each week, we would like to spotlight a group or a committee and thank them for their gift of time. And this week, the group is hospitality. Hospitality over the summer has been a little bit disorganized. So we're hoping to get things reorganized for the fall when we start. And I don't really know who to refer you to, so I'll refer you to me, and I'll put myself in charge of coming up with some sort of a better plan for hospitality as we start into September. So talk to me if you're interested in doing that. 1/4 of our plate collection for the widening season goes to the Finger Lakes Accountability Network, or FLAN, F-L-A-N, a multiracial and multi-generational group of people who meet regularly and build relationships with each other in the Western Finger Lakes region of New York State. Committed to the interracial work of cultivating a culture of curiosity, courage, and commitment to dismantling systems of oppression, members of FLAN start by looking within ourselves, focusing on the necessity and joy of racial healing, ecological justice, and equitable food systems. You can give to this morning's offering by placing cash or a check into the basket or by one of the options on your screen. Please make a note that your gift is intended for today's offering. We now gratefully accept the offering. Now is the time for joys and sorrows, but we have none in our basket. Do we have any in the chat box to share? From Zoom? Nothing? Okay. I have a joy to share. I just had a 9-day trip where I flew out to Wisconsin to meet up with my boyfriend for his nephew's wedding. A wonderful visit, meeting both of his sisters and the extended family, and then we drove back via Pennsylvania, Butler, Pennsylvania, where I grew up, to visit my mom, and for Terrell to meet my mom and my brother and his whole family, and it was just a great trip, and it was lovely. So I'm dropping a pebble in for that, and I'll drop another pebble in for all the other joys and sorrows that we may hold in our hearts, but have chosen not to spoken this morning.
So now is the time for our screen sharing here. You also can see this online. This is our responsive reading. I'll read the first lines in bold, and then the congregation will read the second lines. We are the promises we make to one another. We will
recognize the inherent value of each person.
We will And we will in the service of the values that unite us. And now we will be sharing a short video as the meditation for today. Gonna come over this way, my friend? Very interesting shoelace. Not to mention all those little grommets. Oh my God. How many of you who watched the video of the crow visiting me and Jeff thought that the appearance of a crow in itself has meaning? If that is a reaction that you had, please raise your hand or post in the online chat. Thank you. The way this unfolded was one evening in July. I was sitting on the deck talking with my brother about family things when a crow landed on the deck rail about 10 feet away and started to peck at a shiny cap at the end of a small flagpole in a hanging basket. It then hopped around on some chairs, down onto the deck, and then up onto the arm of the Adirondack chair in which I was sitting. While I was talking to my brother about our sister Carol, who had died 5 years ago, the crow was pecking at my bracelet and my watch and my phone. I was telling my brother this and he said, "Did that crow tap on your phone just when you said Carol's name? Maybe it's Carol paying you a visit." The crow hopped into the kitchen. So I stopped my call and followed it, calling to Jeff to tell him there was a crow in the house. Jeff came out looking dubious and was surprised to see the crow checking out the kitchen. Jeff gently herded the crow out the door onto the deck, carrying a jar of dry, unsalted peanuts. Jeff sat in one chair on the deck and shook a peanut onto the chair arm, which the crow observed from the deck rail. The crow flew down and scrutinized the peanut, eventually taking a small tidbit. I don't recall the exact sequence of things, but the crow continued to hop around the deck furniture, explored Jeff's boot and pants cuff, and at some point took a peanut from Jeff's fingers. We were both fairly astonished at the length of time the crow was with us, which was at least a half an hour before it flew off to the neighbor's roof and didn't come back. When I related the crow visit to my sister's best friend in Ohio, her immediate response was, "I bet it was Carol." She immediately checked online and informed me that the visit of a crow could indicate some imminent good fortune, as well as a visit from someone who was departed. How many of you think that there could be some value in such beliefs about a visit by a crow being meaningful? Please raise your hands or post in the chat. Thank you. 2 days later, at small group, I started to tell the story of the crow visit, and Val Doyle immediately laughed and said, "I have something to share with you." It was that her son, who lived across the creek from us, also had a visit by a crow the day after we did, although the crow didn't interact with them as long or hop into their house. How many of you now think that the visit was not intrinsically meaningful, rather that the crow was likely an escaped tame bird or had otherwise become accustomed to interacting with people fearlessly? Please raise your hand or post in the chat. Thank you. I'm a humanist and tend to agree with the psychiatrist and author M. Scott Peck that human beings are poor examiners, subject to superstition, bias, prejudice, and a profound tendency to see what they want to see rather than what is really there. He was talking about our perceptions of other people and their behaviors, but I think that applies equally to the way that we think about natural phenomena or unusual animal behaviors in this case. By the way, Peck was not a humanist. Since I am a humanist, but I like to hedge my bets, I bought a lotto ticket, but it didn't pay out. So, to sum up the difference, a humanist is a person who considers themselves spiritual might interpret a friendly visit by a crow differently based on their respective worldviews. Humanists typically focus on reason, science, and human experience to understand the world. A humanist might appreciate the visit of a crow as an interesting and perhaps rare interaction with nature, but they would likely attribute the event to natural behavior rather than any deeper meaning. They might be curious about the crow's behavior, considering factors like its environment, instinct, or even past experiences with humans that could explain its friendliness. While they might find the encounter enjoyable or intriguing, they would probably not ascribe any supernatural or symbolic meaning to it. A person who identifies as spiritual might see the crow's visit as a significant or symbolic event. For example, in some cultures, crows are associated with mystery, transformation, or even guidance. A spiritual person might interpret the crow's friendliness as a sign, message, or omen, potentially reflecting something about their current life circumstances or emotions. They might view the encounter as a meaningful connection with nature or the universe, believing that the crow's visit carries a deeper significance beyond mere coincidence. Generally, crow visits are seen in a positive light in many cultures as signs of good things or positive change. However, in a few cultures, they are associated with a death warning, not just with a visit by a deceased person. Mostly the crow is symbolic of wisdom, perhaps messengers from the gods or afterlife, perhaps imbuing unusual insight or prophecy. How many of you think that you align more with the humanist point of view? Please raise your hands or post in the chat. Thank you. I do not draw any special significance from the visit of the crow, although it was delightful and amusing to interact with a bird for so long. Just this past week, I was contacted by a former client to ask if I was interested in consulting on a project that might go on for 2 years. I'll leave it to you to decide for yourselves whether, as humanists, you see no connection to that crow visit, or whether this confirms your belief in the significance of the visit of a crow. Who knows what the crow thought? Please rise in body or in spirit and join in our closing song, What a Wonderful World. You can find the words up on the screen.
you are with us today on Zoom and you'd like to wave goodbye, please turn on your cameras now. Okay. Very nice to see those faces. Please join me in our words for extinguishing the chalice. I'll try not to set anything fire or knock anything over. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of commitment, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.